Good evening. This is the September 24th, 2019 special meeting of the East Long Meadow Town Council. I'll open the meeting now with a pledge of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we ask that you keep our servicemen and women and our first responders in your thoughts this evening. Thank you. In accordance with Mass General Law, this meeting is being audio taped and videotaped, and if there's anyone else in the audience doing the same, I ask that you please identify yourself. Seeing no one. Our only item of business for this special meeting is to interview candidates for the appointment of the vacant seat on the council vacated by Joe Ford in August. Before us this evening are three candidates. To be fair, I should let you know that four residents initially indicated an interest in being interviewed, and the clerk was alerted last evening or this morning?
4 p.m. yesterday evening.
Okay, about 24 hours ago, that one of the candidates has withdrawn. And so this evening, we will focus our attention on the three remaining candidates, and they are Connor Roche, Marilyn Richards, and Jonathan Porsha. Very similar to the format we used in 2017 when the Eric Madison seat was vacated. The process we'll follow is each candidate will have up to 10 minutes or so. We have a little breathing room now that we've lost a candidate this evening to talk to the council about his or her background and what he or she believes they can bring to the table as an asset to the council. There'll be an opportunity for councilors to ask the candidate questions, and we will move through all three in an identical manner. At the end of the interviews, the council will deliberate here in open session and entertain a motion to appoint one candidate to the council. And going forward, that individual will be sworn by the town clerk and fill the open seat for our 6 o'clock meeting. We are anticipating to go in alphabetical order. Oh, I'm sorry, did we do alphabetical?
We did.
We did, okay.
Right.
Mr. Florence is kind enough as clerk to set all this up for us. Our first candidate will be Connor Roche, and I would ask Mr. Porsha and Ms. Richards if you would kindly step out while the interview is being in progress. Thank you. Connor, welcome.
Hi.
Can somebody get the back door, please?
Okay.
And the front.
The front door. The front door.
Yep. So Connor, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for your interest in this position. The floor is yours. You are welcome to tell us a little bit about your background and what you feel you can offer the residents in East Long Meadow as a counselor.
Sure. Well, first, thank you for taking the opportunity to allow me to speak before you. So I'm a software developer at Big Y by day, which involves a number of responsibilities ranging from architecting solutions for the business to helping to support critical production systems that run the enterprise. I graduated with my bachelor's degree in computer information systems, and I have a minor in business management. And as part of the minor, it has a number of courses in accounting and financial management, which I think would be beneficial during the budget process. Most recently, I was also appointed to the Master Plan Committee, and as you know, the Master Plan will serve as an important guiding document and blueprint for the future of the town. And so hopefully, as part of that, we can also guide the future vision of where East Longmeadow is going. Local government isn't quite new to me, though. One of my first experiences was in scouting. So as part of scouting, to attain the rank of Eagle Scout, which I did, there's 3 required merit badges: citizenship in the community, nation, and the world. And as part of the community one, you have to attend Board of Selectmen meetings, and at that time it was a town meeting, and then also interview a Board of Selectmen member. And so at a young age, it sparked my interest in local government. And of course, I believe that local government is one of the most important facets of government, because that's where most residents get their local services and interact with on a daily basis. My Eagle Scout service project collected non-perishable food items and personal hygiene products, actually for the senior center where we are right now. And I also volunteered for LCAT when I was in high school. So I attended and recorded and also helped post-production for a number of public meetings, whether it was the school committee or the Board of Library Trustees. That's my gist of the background there. I've watched many meetings since, departing high school years ago, and keeping abreast of the issues in town. Most recently in the spring, I had started actually attending the meetings in person, so I've been here for just about every single one since. I'm just now deciding to get more involved because I have more free time in my schedule to accommodate the commitment that would be necessary. Do you have any questions for me, or?
What's the one thing you feel you can bring to the table? Or how you can contribute to helping the citizens of the town?
I hope that I can give a fresh perspective on what the younger generations of the town is going to need over the coming years. I mean, there's a lot of people that are moving into town with families, and there's a lot of people that are, looking for something different that we might not offer at the moment. So hopefully I can shed some light on that.
Good. Floor is open for any counselor who would like to ask.
Sure. Through the chair, your volunteer experience, Master Plan Committee, I thank you for stepping up for that.
Thank you.
There's a lot of open seats in town and a lot of different positions, and we need people to fill them that are qualified to provide a guidance in those committees to doing the right thing and moving forward. And what other committees have you been on over the years?
That was the first official one, so nothing in the past before that.
Okay.
Anyone? I'm sorry, Pat.
Through the chair, the council job is very collaborative. And tell us more about your work as a software developer. Shows your strengths in creating a group, operating within the group, because I see that there's some of that in there.
Very much so. So, I mean, many think that software development is, just sitting at a keyboard and not interacting with anyone, but it's actually quite a collaborative position, because a lot of times you get vague requirements from someone, and you then have to hunt down in a collaborative way and try to make sense of what is it that we actually need to do, what's the real problem that we're trying to solve. And so it takes a lot of going back and forth, and both in collaboration, but also in, what's the word I'm looking for, compromising between what we think would be best and what they're actually looking for.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
First of all, I applaud you for, since the spring, you have been a fixture here, which is a wonderful thing. I can almost, like, if somebody's not sitting in that seat, I wonder if, like, you should call an ambulance to see where you are. So, thank you. This is an admirable commitment. Now, you've had a taste of the previous form of government, and now you're seeing this, as we're working through this brand-new era form of government. Is there any thoughts in terms of your vision for East Longmeadow in 5-10 years? Do you see us pretty much being the same type of community, a different type of community? What's your personal vision?
I think a lot of the main fixtures will remain constant. They have for a long time, and I wouldn't expect that they would abruptly change in the next 5 or 10 years, given that that's a relatively short period of time given the town's 125 years of existence. But I do think that there are some potential projects that could shape some new sectors in town, whether it's the mixed use that the town's currently considering now, or new technology sectors, or different avenues like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you think are the biggest problems facing the town right now, from your perspective? It could be about the town, could be about the government. Not about the town manager, though. That's all taken care of.
I think one of the biggest things that's often on citizens' minds are building maintenance, whether it's the school buildings or just other buildings that we have in town that may have been neglected and need work in some way, shape, or form. And it's a back burner item that gets pushed back, but we keep coming up with other financial commitments in the town that make other things difficult to achieve. I think that's one of the biggest ones. I think there's also still the growing pains of adapting to the new form of government. There's things that it does absolutely well, and it's, overall I think has been a great shift, but I think there's still some things that could be done in a slightly better manner.
Anyone else?
Through the chair.
Sure.
I'd just like to elaborate on that. So through your eyes, what do you see as the number one thing the council may be able to do better? You're obviously represent the younger generation, so what do they see that we could improve on?
I think there's probably two main areas. I think the biggest one is what the council's goals and visions are for the future as well. There's goals and somewhat vision that have been in the previous town manager's performance evaluation, but the council has never really self-set expectations for itself, nor goals of where we expect to be 5 or 10 years from now. Of course, a master plan would definitely help guide that, but I think there are some things that could have been or could now be done to prepare for what we could expect going forward. And as a result, I think that the budget should be a reflection of those goals. And a couple budgets ago, we had a good job where there was definitely a strong emphasis on public safety, but specifically in the last budget, it seemed like it was a haphazard put together of not much vision.
Thank you.
Through the chair. I just want to thank you for coming out and expressing an interest in the town. I don't think any of us here decided to take this on as a lifetime commitment. So it's nice to see other people have an interest in what we're doing at this point in time. And I would just ask, are there any other committees that, I don't want to say committees, any other, conservation planning, anything else like that ever sparked your interest? And if not, what brought you to council? What's your drive for a seat on our board?
I had thought about some other ones, but mainly this one seemed like this is where a lot of the action happens. There's important things that stem from it, but at the end of the day, they're not making the most pressing decisions that actually affect most people in town, especially since the money flows through the council, so.
That's it? Good.
Thanks.
Connor,
Thank you.
thank you for this time. As you heard me state a little while ago, it's the council's intention to deliberate in public before 6 o'clock and come to some consensus on who should be appointed to
Sounds
the
good.
open seat.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Connor, could you?
Oh, yeah.
That's all right. It's easy to do. Well, it's just stay with, I think that's how you did it before. It just went back and forth and stayed, then
Resounding booths.
So Marilyn, as we stated, or I stated a little while ago, the format is that you have the floor first. You can talk to the council about your background, your experience, and what you feel your contribution to the council and the town could
Okay.
be.
Thank you, thank you. First of all, it's a real pleasure to be here. I appreciate having the opportunity to chat about my interest in serving within the vacancy created with Joe Ford's resignation. I assume you have before you my letter of interest, and within that letter, I have highlighted a laundry list of things throughout time that I feel would enhance my ability to serve within this position on the town council. We moved to East Long Meadow with young children. We picked East Long Meadow because of its vibrant residential community as well as its school system. We haven't been sorry with that move. Our kids benefited from their education. We now have grandkids in the system, and so we've come full circle. It's a great town. It's a great town. My involvement began with 8 years on the Council on Aging Board. Now, that was before Carolyn Brennan was born, so she doesn't remember that.
Thank you for publishing.
She doesn't remember that. But that 8 years was an introduction to our community, and I learned a lot about this town that we recently moved into, about the people that live and work here, about our seasoned seniors, and believe me, they are a true commodity. I know that's what I've heard before, but it's absolutely true. They helped me to develop a philosophy of starting to put my finger on the pulse of East Long Meadow. After 8 years, I sought election to the Board of Selectmen. I was the first woman. I'm really proud of that. I served with Steve Manning and Larry Levine for 9 years. During that time, I want to say that, and please, my disclaimer is it's not anything about me. It was always about all of us. It was a team. We respected one another, and we, I think, learned from one another. I'm not sure how much they learned from me, but I certainly learned a great deal from them. As selectmen, we were police commissioners, fire commissioners. We did contract negotiations. We were responsible for the budgets that were connected to the departments under our purview. We were the Board of Health. We were the licensing authority. At that time, we did it all, supposedly, but in all fairness, we didn't do it without the support of the day-to-day continuity of our executive secretary and our administrative assistant. Again, it was all teamwork. The skill set that I learned as a selectman, I believe, would help me here. After 9 years, I chose not to seek re-election because we moved my mom to East Long Meadow and she needed her daughter. And so for about 6 months, I pulled away from the community setting, but I really missed it. A vacancy occurred on the planning board, and I was approached by a member of the Board of Selectmen to see if I was interested in filling that vacancy. I said yes. After 11 years, I guess I enjoyed it. Planning board taught me something that I didn't know. And while you look at how government complements one another and how it's a total product that a community tries to market, the planning board taught me about their decisions being far more critical in some ways than other departments, simply because the decisions that we made, whether it be special permit granting authority or whether it be crafting out bylaws that went to our town meeting or town council for passage, those were decisions and information that could effectively change the character of the town forever, for a lifetime. And so it was important. It was important to not only look to the information that you were considering at the moment, but look to it in the future to see what kind of an impact the decisions you're making would have on our community 10 years out, 15 years out. Okay, got off the planning board. I fully retired, I thought. I've served on the bylaw subcommittee, zoning bylaw subcommittee, appointed by the planning board, the general bylaw subcommittee appointed by you folks. I currently am on the planning matters subcommittee, which brings that planning philosophy to this process. And I'm also the vice chair on the community preservation committee. I love our town. That's obvious that I like to keep busy. And Norm loves it that I'm busy, because then I'm not underfoot all the time. But truly, this is a great town. I feel that if I was appointed, I could bring to the table these skills that I've acquired over time. I've also been sitting out here in your audience, and I'm sort of engaged in all the things you're talking about. I also attend frequently the planning board meetings, and I'm following their issues as well. And so I do have a handle on what's happening. And if appointed, I could easily transition from that seat to that seat without too much effort, I feel. So if appointed, I would be honored to serve. And I'm sure you have some questions, so I'm done.
Floor's open.
Through the chair, appreciate you coming in and appreciate all you've done for the community over the years. I've looked at the paperwork and I've watched what you've done over the last 15, 20 years plus, and the skill set that you bring. And I just want to say thank you for that. And I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow. Remember April of 1988, Kate Turpey, you, myself,
Right.
at the Red Jacket.
Right. And we were all, what, 24?
Oh, yeah, exactly. No, they're there too.
Right.
And, you know, and I said, this one sheet doesn't do justice for all the commitment, both you and Norm. I remember one time when I was on the planning board, I presented your husband an award or some recognition for commitment. This is like a family, you guys. This is, and I said to him, I will bet you, I said this at town meeting, I will bet you he has a copy of the zoning bylaws with him right now. And Norm just pulls them right out. So I just wanted to throw him in because it was great to see Norm as well, because you guys work together and you support each other. And I also want to mention that you've done an admirable, amazing job on the Planning Matters Subcommittee. And you truly are a fixture here. Just like the previous speaker, I was half joking saying if I see this seat empty, I'm almost tempted to call the police to go, where is he? For a much longer time, that seat over there. So the question I'm going to ask you, I can't, all this fluff, I have to ask you a tough question.
Sure.
Yeah, you weren't originally a fan of this transition to this new government. So you've had a chance to see the past and now the present. As we move to the future, do you want, in your vision, do you see us continuing, improving and working within this present form of government? Or in your perfect world, would you rather us go back to the prior form?
Okay, back to the Charter Commission and the public hearings. I spoke passionately about saving town meeting. I always felt that town meeting was an opportunity. It was the purest form of government. It was an opportunity for residents to be heard, for residents to make a difference in the laws that were being promulgated for their neighborhoods or for their town. My wishes weren't granted with the election. So do you roll up your sleeves or your carpet and go and pout in the corner because you didn't win? This is our town, and my goal is to support the community. My goal is to see the community succeed. As a resident and as a former elected official and as a currently appointed official, I want to see our town succeed. I believe that we've come a long way since the change of our government. The one piece that I was the most concerned about has not realized itself, and that's having a voice. You folks have been very open to comments from citizens. You have been very open to creating subcommittees of citizens to reflect their opinions on whatever the subject matter is. So that piece that was of such concern to me has not happened. So, yeah, we need to move forward. We've changed too much. You know, our documents have already been modified. We're moving ahead. We need to make it work, and it will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Yes. Through the chair.
Of course.
Of course. Just for full disclosure, obviously, me and you have served on multiple subcommittees together. I've always been admired your hard work. You've always put in 110%, and I thank you for that. As you look at the council and you've watched us, what would you say is a way that the council can improve going forwards?
Actually, it was recently, and it was, I'm trying to think, there were 2 meetings. One of them was the discussion surrounding the appointment of our acting town manager. The other one was the meeting that surrounded the selection of the agency that would do the search. And I was very impressed with a lot of the discussions that took place within each process. It wasn't rubber stamp, it wasn't, you know, always smooth, but I felt that opinions were heard, comments were made, and they were all relevant to the situation that was there. That's something that I think is important to see, and we talk about it, teamwork. You can agree to disagree, but when you disagree, you need to come to some meeting of the minds to make a decision that's in the best interest of the town. And I saw that at those last 2 meetings. And so that would be, actually that's a plus that you're getting. In terms of, observing the council, I look at individuals, I can tell who does their homework and who doesn't. I can see that. You can see that in how conversations occur and it's human nature. I've served on a number of committees where some people do their homework and some don't. But the more homework you do, the better prepared you are to make a more informed decision, and that would be how I would approach it.
Thank you.
Pat?
Another hard question for Marilyn?
Yeah.
What are your long-range plans?
To get up and have breakfast tomorrow morning. My husband and I retired. We're happily settled here in East Meadow. I don't know what our long-range plans are. Life has been good. I'm happy to serve. I just don't know. Let's say that, stay tuned. How's that?
Okay.
Through the chair, this is an obvious question with your experience, your credentials, your commitment to the town over many years, and I too have served on a couple of committees with you and found you to be very knowledgeable, collaborative, and willing to step up and take those challenges, and that's not an easy thing to do. And I too appreciate that and the effort that you put into the work that you've done with us. And not seeing you at a meeting raises my concern as well. You've attended, I don't remember a meeting you didn't attend. So your commitment is still there, and I know you have the time and commitment to move forward and work with the council, so I thank you for that.
Thank you.
We're good? Marilyn, thank you.
Thank you very much.
As I said before, we will finish up with our 3rd candidate and then deliberate right here in open session and hope to have a consensus and move to appointment.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much. Appreciate it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is true.
You're getting early.
Unless there's 3 and a
Well, maybe.
good enough.
John, good evening
Good
again.
evening.
Thank you first for your interest in this position.
Definitely, and I'm
Um,
sorry if I'm not fully woke up to the tie. I was just obviously coming from a service. My grandfather passed away a few days ago. So as you may all not know, my name is Jonathan Porsha. I'm 20. I've been a lifelong resident for my entire life. My aforementioned grandfather, his family moved here over 50 years ago, so our family has always had, and for a very long time, and probably for a long time going forward, a vested interest in this community, a vested interest in the development, the progress, the prosperity, and the success of this community. And regardless of what happens, I hope to, be a part of that in the long term. So a few of the things that I've done in my short professional career. I'm currently a junior at Western New England University, majoring in political science, minoring in international relations. I sit on one of the town boards. I was asked to serve, and I gladly wanted to serve because government has always been of significant interest to me, being a political science major, serving on the planning board since May of 2018. That has really gotten me the firsthand experience of sitting on a committee, getting down to business. I always prepare 1 hour, 2 hours before a meeting, make sure I go over the agenda, know what's going on, maybe take a few notes. And that's the type of thing that I would bring here. I'm the type of person, I get very invested in the things I'm involved in. For the last few years, since I was in high school, I also serve on the East Long Meadow Cultural Council. We hand out grants, community grants to the Rotary Club when they do the parade, the schools when they put on different projects, the library, the senior center. I, almost always, attend meetings. I like to be fully involved in the meetings and offer, my take or perspective. And I'm not afraid to, disagree respectfully with, a member of whatever board that I've sat on. I also have the unique experience of working and still working in the governor's office under Patrick Carnevale, who is the governor's Western Mass director in the Springfield office here. That's given me a really front seat row at what's happening not just in this community, but in many different types of communities, similar communities in Western Mass. The Western Mass region has 101 cities and towns, and my boss and as I assist him, we've been going to community, helping with broadband, helping with DPW issues that they might have, DOT services or environmental issues that they might have. So I've been in that position for the last couple of months, and that's given me another really great ability to understand the complex issues that happen in different municipalities. And I think I could bring that experience and bring that knowledge and the people that I know to this board in a unique fashion. While I'm on at my university, I have served on the Student Senate. I serve in the class government currently. I also have done work at the Polling Institute. What you also get from me is somebody who is very flexible. I can make meetings, I can make these meetings, I can, I have a strong interest, as I had said earlier to some people, strong interest in serving on subcommittees. I want to offer my expertise and talent on whatever type of committee that's needed. And, I'm eager to learn. I don't know everything, and I'm not going to act like I know everything. I come with the experience that I've had, but I think my age also gives me a unique perspective. It's very unusual to have, and I think it's fantastic that there's another 20-something-year-old that's in the running here this evening, because 20-year-olds, even 30-year-olds or 40-year-olds don't often serve or get involved at the local level, even the federal level. And we're starting to see that sort of that new wave of kind of young people that are getting involved. So those are among other things. I've always had a vested interest in volunteering or giving back to the community. I've through my childhood had the honor. My aunt founded Raise a Hope So I've volunteered every year for that. Not just the whole political scene, but I like, giving back to the community and being really involved in the community. I love this community, and when reflecting over the last couple of days, the passing of my grandfather, he loved this community too. He built many of the houses. He, was involved, owned some businesses around town. So my family always instilled in me, I had such a great childhood here, and I want that to be something that more children or future generations, go through. I want, more progress and more success for this community. I see a lot of great things in the near immediate future. So I'm looking forward to being a part of that. I'm looking forward to advancing that cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Floor is open for questions, if anyone has one.
Sure, I'll start. John, looking at the town council, what do you see as a way that the council itself can improve, and how would we improve with you on as a member?
I think greater communication with the community. I think what I represent is a group of people who may not be totally involved in what's going on. So what I think is we can better get young people, even parents, younger people involved in the process, because so many of the issues that are going on right now that have been discussed at the recent meetings that have been discussed at our planning board meetings will impact them. Things about the budget, things about, people that are, hired. We have a lot of, movement going on in the community right now. So getting those people back involved, interested in what's going on, having that social media footprint. Those are the type of things that I feel like the council should try to, develop more strategies for, and getting those people involved. And I think that's what I would bring to the table.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Pat?
Okay. John, your list of accomplishments and your town involvement is really, really impressive. Since I've been here, I've certainly seen that over and over and over. So I just would have to ask you the standard question. What do you see facing the town? What are the biggest issues you see facing the town?
Especially with my time recently on the planning board, I see a lot of development happening. But that development needs to have the proper rules, the proper people, the proper guidances to make sure that that development goes smoothly, that the town advances in a way where we don't have sort of hiccups in the road. And personnel is so important about that. Personnel in the town hall, the individuals that are serving on the town council. You need a diversity of opinions. On our planning board, we have, lawyers, business owners, a college student. There's a wide variety of opinions. And if you have a board that doesn't necessarily have that, you may run into, things that might not be thought of at meetings. So, one individual on, the board may, see it from a different angle, see it from a different perspective. And you also need some type of disagreement. If everybody, agreed here on every single issue, that wouldn't be good for the town long term. You would have these projects going through, or possible, personnel going through that might not be really that great, but everybody on the board agrees with it, and that might not be a reflection of what the town wants and what the town needs.
I remember, I think, the first time I met you, you were involved with LCAT, right?
That's right.
And I think you interviewed me, and this was back then. So there, and that was for the new council, right? I think Don Mackey arranged that that interview. So you had the chance to see this, see what was happening. And I'm going to defer to Tom to correct me on the numbers, but when we had that first election to create the original town council, I believe we had about a 40%, or is it a higher number, Tom?
Turnout, it was just shy, almost 40, 38%.
So almost 40%, but however, it's now down to what, 7?
Yeah.
What do you feel that you can do to get the population of East Long Meadow more engaged, that we don't need some big transitory event or something of that nature to get people so we can get, double digit or voters again? So Because I think what my fear is there's becoming an apathy, and where there's apathy, you're not necessarily drawing the best talent pool because, you know, people feel comfortable. But we want people to be engaged. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I think some of it is, and I was a candidate for school committee, as some of you may know, it's difficult to, first off, get people interested in local government at all. But I think the problem is that so few people, even fewer people than in years past, are even trying to run as candidates. In that race, you saw 32 candidates. You saw this new form of government. People got really engaged. I think we can get it back up to, 37, 38 shouldn't be a one-time thing. I think this could happen in a contested race, and a competitive race should happen again. It's that outreach. It's connecting people to why it matters. A lot of it, to me, and people that I talk to when I would go door to door, it's pocketbook issues. What are you doing with the budget? And that's going to really, that really draws people in to know, how's my money being spent? They act like things are, they're going fine, there's no controversies. But we need to do better at outreaching and going to them, not necessarily, sitting or waiting for people to come in, but to go directly to them. I, went door to door, I knocked on hundreds of doors. Obviously, it was for a political race, but we need to have more of those outreach type events to engage people.
Anyone else? Okay, John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
As I said before, we've got a little bit of time now before our next meeting starts, and it's our intent to deliberate here in open session and come to a consensus on who should fill the seat.
Thank you. And would you like me
Yes,
to?
please. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
They're welcome to come in. It's an open
I don't think
session.
John knows that.
Yeah, you can,
You can invite him back.
Invite everybody in.
Well, if you don't want to talk, okay.
Okay, we're at
it's an
that
open session, so.
deliberation point. We have three extremely interested and interesting individuals who each in their own way have some impressive information in their resumes. There's no downside to the outcome of this decision this evening. It's all on the upside. The difficulty is, how do we get there? So I will entertain discussion.
One of my thoughts is, it's basically, I think what weighs in my decision is experience and lack of learning curve. I mean, Joe's position, speaking of, Counselor Ford, whose position we're replacing, his term expires in really less than a year. Okay? And so we have a lot of stuff going on right now. And we have, the matter of the new town manager. We have, just budget. We have the master plan. We have the charter review. I can keep going on. So what's important to me is who of the three candidates can be sitting in that spot with the less learning curve. My position is, from having worked with her, would be Marilyn Richards. And I think Marilyn, who's been here all this time, is right in the middle of my planning matters subcommittee, is totally up to speed on that, has been to almost every one of our meetings, and it's not a slight at anyone else that has been here. I mean, John is doing a fantastic job serving the town on the planning board, and Connor is just delighted having him come in, and he's absorbing so much, and he's offering so many ideas, and this is only going to get better. But our challenge is to find somebody who can step in right now to fill in a gap for a short term, and have and really have as much of a reduced baptism of fire. And that's just my take on it, and I would just say Marilyn Richards, but that's just me.
It's been a
Through the-
challenge.
Through the chair, excuse me, unless you want to speak.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I look at it the same way Don mentioned, that we're looking at a time frame of approximately 8 months, and then there will be seats available again. This isn't a 3-year position, and there's a lot of urgency right now. Some of it that I would consider time sensitive. So Marilyn, with her experience and skill set, and being totally engaged in what's taking place right now, I feel that she would be serviced best at this point in time to take us forward at least through the next 8 months.
Tom, do you want to follow?
Yeah, I'm sure we're all struggling. It's a great turnout. These 3 candidates, as you stated, Kathy, we can't go wrong. Each of them have different skill sets and some knowledge to bring to the table. Marilyn does stand out, though. But regardless of how the vote goes and the decision comes down, I encourage all of our young folks to step up and get on different committees and get involved at the ground roots to participate in a lot of the subcommittee work that is being done in town, and a lot of the committees and boards where there are open seats. That's where we need a lot of help too. And I think it's great to see 2 young folks come up and step up.
Pat or Ralph?
Pat?
First of all, I'd like to thank all the candidates here today for their willingness to step up and do the work that townspeople need from this council going forward. They all bring really strong points to the table. Marilyn is a well-known presence in town, as we stated before. She has connections with. She's done so many things. John is a whirlwind of positive energy. He's got connections with the state government. His commitment to the community is second to none. Connor brings passion and analytical skills and vision, and he even talked about ability to compromise. So all of these things are great. But I can't help but notice that each one of our candidates is in some respects an insider. People who are either already on boards or committees or who are watching the town operations day to day. Not that that's a bad thing. This opening came very suddenly on August 24th, in the middle of summer vacations. I wasn't even here. It was not formally announced until September 10th, with a deadline date for applying September 13th. Here I am holding the reminder article about the screening of the town manager committee. We didn't have anything like this for the announcement for this process. Unfortunately, there was no publicity that I noticed, and even today, most people in town, people driving by yesterday, had no idea Joe was no longer on the council. Among those who did know, there was even the delay kind of generated some silly rumors that the council was going to appoint someone without the process we're going through today. That was never true. I would personally prefer to delay the search until townspeople had received more notice of the opening, and we had a dozen applicants. But that's not an option under the charter. We have 3 qualified candidates here today, great candidates, and it would not be fair to them not to select someone. So even though I consider all the other candidates as meritorious, my vote will go to a person with many years of directly related experience in a cautious, collaborative manner, Marilyn Richards.
Ralph, you have to go next because I have to go last. As chair, I can go last.
Okay, I'm just going to follow it up. Looking at the 3 resumes, impressive, all 3 of you. John, I've watched you many times on the planning board, and I've watched you each meeting. It seems like you get better and better and better with it, and I commend you for that. Planning board is not an easy board to be on. There is some tough decisions that we really need you to be on the board to make. Connor, I met you here. I met you actually at the budget meeting, and I was extremely impressed by you and the questions that you asked. Absolutely, for not knowing you, I turned around and I said, who was that? Those are great questions. So I commend you. Marilyn, obviously, we've been on many subcommittees and all together. I look at it as this is really 8 months, and I'm looking at someone that can, like Don said, be right up to date, right up to speed, have done everything. It's difficult because I think any one of you could step right in and do the job. But I will say my vote tonight will be for Marilyn. I think at the moment that she can step in and fulfill the duties that we need right off the start.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. There's nobody left. As the career educator at the table, I want to start by saying both of these gentlemen were students when I was at the middle school. And even at the age of 12 and 13, they had student leader written all over them by how they engaged in all of the activities in the school, whether it be student council, the newspaper, you name it. You could see there's a certain type of kid that kind of comes to the top, and both Connor and John fit that bill very readily. It makes me feel good as an educator and makes me smile to see that young adults are beginning to step forward. But it troubles me when I hear both of them say that we need to reach out, do a better job at reaching out to their target age group. And so I think at the end of the day, this council needs to work with the Johns and the Connors to make that happen, to come up with a way to, whether it's social media or public forums, some way to grab the 20, 30, and 40-year-olds, because clearly you can look around this table and know that we aren't that. We're not the 20 and 30, 40-year-olds. Although we are happy to serve and we try our very best to bring that energy to the table, as Mr. Kane said, we are not going to be able to serve forever. These are not life opportunities, lifetime opportunities. However, all of that said, when I look at the three candidates and their diverse skill set, but with their commonalities, I'm still struck by the public experience that Marilyn has and can bring to the table right away. It troubles me, however, when I say my vote is for this individual, because I don't want either of these two gentlemen to think that I don't believe in them, because I truly do. I've been believing in you for 12 or more years, and I know that your leadership will be known in this community someday in the not too distant future. So my vote would be for Marilyn. And it sounds to me as though we have a unanimous feeling here, so I will entertain that motion from one of you, please.
I move to appoint Marilyn Richards to fill the council seat vacated by Joe Ford.
I would second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Marilyn Richards to fulfill the remainder of the term of Joseph Ford, effective today and through June 30th, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Marilyn.
Thank you all.
We have about 4 minutes before our next meeting, so if you want to work, you have to take the oath of office. Once this is finished, I will then entertain a motion to adjourn. We do have to get them both in some kind of, help us reach out to these younger people.
Yeah.
It's hard though, because the younger kids are not engaged.
That's the difficult part, because these last words there. I mean, all our meetings are taped.
As a member of the
Saying that wasn't posted.
in accordance with bylaws of the town of Somerville and the regulations of the state of Massachusetts.
Have a seat. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. Nay. We are adjourned. The special meeting at 5:57, and we will be back in session momentarily for our regularly scheduled meeting.